You wake up and you can't move. Not because something is holding you, not because your body is injured, but because reality itself feels wrong. There is pressure everywhere, a heavy silence pressing into your skin. Your thoughts are slow, delayed, like they are trying to rise through water. Above you there is darkness, inches from your face, a surface you cannot fully see, but can feel in every nerve of your body. Wood, tight space, no sound except your own existence. And then the realization arrives slowly, unwillingly. You are underground, buried. But the true horror is not death. It is uncertainty. The possibility that someone made a mistake. In the 1800s, this fear was not imagination. It was statistical reality. Medicine was not precise. Doctors often confused fainting, coma, and death. People were declared dead too early, too easily. And so society responded the only way it knew how, with invention. Coffins were designed with bells connected to strings tied to the corpse's hands. Breathing tubes were installed to the surface. Flags could be triggered from below ground. Entire cemeteries became systems of mechanical hope, and at night, caretakers walked slowly between graves, listening, not for silence, but for movement inside it. Imagine that job. Standing alone in a graveyard at 2 a.m., fog covering everything, wind barely moving. And then a faint sound, a ring, a scratch, a signal from below. In that moment, invention stops being progress. It becomes responsibility, because every system designed to prevent tragedy also creates the possibility of false hope. And hope in the wrong place becomes terror. But this was only one expression of a much larger pattern. Humanity builds things to solve fear, and fear rarely disappears. It transforms. In the Victorian era, beauty itself became dangerous. Wealthy homes were decorated with bright, almost glowing green wallpaper. It symbolized luxury and taste. But the pigment contained arsenic, a poison so stable it could sit quietly inside walls for years, until moisture entered the room. Then the walls changed. Not visibly, chemically. They began releasing microscopic particles into the air, invisible, odorless, continuous. Families inside those homes did not understand what was happening. At first it was fatigue, then headaches, then strange sensations, dizziness, confusion, hallucinations at the edge of vision. Children became weak. Adults grew sick without explanation. Doctors blamed stress, bad air, seasonal illness. No one blamed the decoration, because psychologically it is almost impossible to accept that beauty could be lethal. But it was not sudden. It was not dramatic. It was slow engineering of death disguised as aesthetics. And then there are disasters that move faster than understanding. Boston, 1919. A massive storage tank filled with molasses stood in the city like something harmless. Industrial storage. Thick liquid contained safely behind steel, until the structure failed. The rupture was not explosive at first. It was a deep mechanical collapse under pressure and temperature changes. And then the molasses escaped. What came out was not like water. It was heavier, slower, but unstoppable. A wave rose from the tank, several meters high, and began moving through the streets. People initially could not process what they were seeing. It looked wrong. a liquid that behaved like a solid mass. It crushed wooden structures instantly. Horses were lifted and trapped. Railings bent. Buildings shook as if struck by a physical force rather than a fluid. And the most terrifying part was not speed. It was resistance. The molasses did not splash or scatter. It enveloped. It consumed. It turned movement into paralysis. Survivors described trying to run and realizing their legs could no longer lift. The city became a slow-motion trap. Even rescue became impossible at first. Everything was sticky, heavy, and silent. A disaster without fire, without explosion, but with total control over motion itself. Earlier in New York, another kind of failure revealed itself in fire. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory was supposed to represent modern industry, organized labor, efficiency, safety improvements. But inside, reality was different. Doors were locked during work hours to prevent theft and unauthorized breaks. Windows were sealed or limited. Stairs were narrow. The system prioritized productivity over evacuation. When fire broke out, it moved quickly through fabric and wood. Smoke filled upper floors within minutes. Workers rushed toward exits that did not open. Panic replaced order instantly. Elevators became overloaded. Stairways collapsed or became inaccessible. And then came the windows. From the outside, witnesses saw silhouettes at the upper floors. People waving, hesitating, then jumping. Not because they wanted to, but because there was no remaining geometry of escape inside the building. The invention was not fire. The invention was containment. And containment failed under pressure. Then came a different kind of confidence. Engineering against nature, the Titanic was built with immense pride. Steel hull, advanced compartmentalization, luxury designed to represent human mastery over the ocean. It was called unsinkable, not as marketing exaggeration, but as belief. A belief that design had finally surpassed risk. But the ocean does not recognize belief. When the iceberg struck, the damage was not immediately catastrophic. It was subtle. A long tear beneath the waterline. Water entered compartments slowly at first, then continuously. The ship's internal design, meant to isolate flooding, instead created a progressive imbalance. As compartments filled, weight distribution shifted. The structure began to tilt inside. Passengers were unaware at first. Life continued. Music played. Conversations continued. The idea of danger was distant, abstract, until it WASN single quotes T. By the time evacuation began, the system revealed its limits. There were not enough lifeboats, not enough time, not enough understanding of how quickly confidence collapses when structure fails. The ocean did not rage. It simply received, and it kept the ship. Medicine carries its own history of catastrophic certainty. In the early 20th century, lobotomy was introduced as a treatment for mental illness. It was seen as scientific progress, a way to calm severe psychological distress by altering brain pathways. The procedure involved physically disrupting parts of the brain associated with emotion and thought regulation. At first, it was considered successful because patients became calmer, less reactive, less distressed. But what was removed was not only suffering. It was identity, personality, motivation, inner life. Families described changes that felt irreversible. The person they knew was still physically present, but emotionally absent. A body without the complexity that defined them. The invention achieved its goal. It reduced behavior, but it also reduced humanity. Radiation followed a similar path of misunderstanding. When it was first discovered, radiation was seen as a miracle force, something invisible but powerful. Products were created using radioactive materials. Cosmetics, health tonics, even household items marketed with glowing promise. People believed it could energize the body, improve health, even enhance beauty. But radiation does not enhance. It transforms. Slowly at the cellular level, damage accumulates without immediate feedback. By the time symptoms appear, the process is already deep within the body's structure. Then came nuclear energy disasters that revealed the scale of invisible consequence. In 1986. At Chernobyl, a routine test became unstable. A chain reaction of design flaws, procedural errors, and timing issues led to a reactor behaving in ways it was never meant to. The explosion did not look like conventional fire. It looked like light breaking out of containment. Firefighters arrived without understanding radiation exposure. They saw flames and metal. They did not see the invisible energy that was already altering their biology. Many of them paid for that first hour with their lives. The disaster was not only the explosion. It was the misunderstanding that followed it. In 1917, Halifax experienced a different kind of industrial failure. Two ships collided in a harbor. One carried explosive materials. The result was not delayed. It was instantaneous. A flash of energy that erased entire districts in seconds. Sound arrived after destruction, as if reality itself needed time to catch up. And sometimes failure is not explosive. But structural. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge was designed to be flexible, elegant, efficient. But wind interacting with structure created oscillation, at first barely visible, then amplified. The bridge began to move in ways engineers did not anticipate. Not breaking immediately, but entering a feedback loop of motion. It twisted. It bent. It behaved almost like something alive struggling against itself. Until material limits were reached and collapse followed. Even air can become lethal when misused. In Bhopal, 1984, a gas leak released toxic chemicals into a sleeping city. There was no explosion, no warning siren that reached everyone in time. A cloud simply moved through neighborhoods. People woke inside it. Breathing became impossible. Vision failed. The environment itself had changed composition. There was no escape from something that cannot be seen until it is already inside you. And in space, where ambition meets engineering at the highest level. The Challenger shuttle rose in 1986 as a symbol of hope. Millions watched. A teacher was among the crew. The launch was meant to represent progress, inspiration, the future. For 73 seconds, everything worked. Then it didn't, single quotes T. The vehicle broke apart in the sky, not as a fireball at first, but as structural failure unfolding in real time. The silence that followed on the ground was heavier than the event itself, because everyone had seen it. And in that moment, invention stopped feeling like triumph. It felt like responsibility again, because every invention carries two timelines. the one we intend, and the one we fail to predict, and history is built in the space between them. We think of progress as upward motion, but it is more accurate to think of it as pressure. Every solution changes the system it touches. Every fix introduces new unknowns. Every invention removes one fear and creates another. And once something is built, it does not forget why it was created, that it only remembers how it can fail.